Dear viewers, my name is Atim Sijan, and today I'm here to briefly talk to you about yesterday's event. We all knew that yesterday was the graduation of our unified forces, and it went on successfully. All the head of states were invited. Some of them turned up, and some of them did not turn up. But all in all, it was quite a very interesting step in the journey of our revitalized peace agreement process in South Sudan. But one comment stood out yesterday during the event, and this was the comment that was made by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, who referred to South Sudanese as Arabs. And this was very unfortunate from somebody who would have known better than any other head of state about South Sudanese. And I'm here to briefly give my opinions about such kind of utterance, especially from somebody like His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Allow me to say that it only pain, but it was more painful that this reckless statement by Museveni was not corrected by any of our government officials during the event. Because I believe none of us can refer to himself or herself as an Arab. And given the history of South Sudan, we are starting from the struggle during the Sudan period, we all know that South Sudanese are African by race, and there is no any occasion whatsoever during our history that we have referred to ourselves as Sudanese or Arabs. During the Sudan, we were fighting for self-determination, yes, and we were never, in any way called Arabs, or we never accept to be called Arabs, not on any occasion. And His Excellency, the late leader of the movement, Dr. John Garang de Mabior, also in history and their records, he talked about this a lot, and it was really disappointing to hear that Museveni refers to South Sudanese as Arabs. That was quite, shocking. And that brings us to identity crisis in South Sudan, where we believe that most of us are not, we are not known by our neighboring countries. And it's upon all of us to take it into consideration, whereby if you are in any situation, encountered by this kind of, utterance, it's good for you to stand firm and correct it. Like yesterday, I was waiting to see that Elia Lomro I thought he will come out and correct it politely and, mention that we are not Arabs, but we are South Sudanese, we are Africans. But unfortunately, he could not do that. So that was very unfortunate to me. And otherwise, the event went well. There are occasions as South Sudanese where you find yourself, being called what you are not. For example, there are people who refer to us as Sudanese until today. There are people who refer to us as Southern Sudanese until now. And it's upon us to correct this. I've been to Uganda, I've been to Kenya, and I've had contact with a lot of people, engaging with people who still refer to me as a Sudanese or a Southern Sudanese. And I'm always very quick to correct it because it is not something that I can take. Identity is very important, and having a crisis with your identity is not a good thing because it defines who you are. Your identity defines who you are as a person, defines your culture, defines, your future. So it is very important for us to be very careful what we take and what we don't take when it comes to our identity as South Sudanese. So this was very unfortunate. In the event also, I realized that the event went on well. Some few remarks as per the events that I'm going to make are my opinions. And always they are my opinions. They are not entitled to any organization. One of the things I realized was that the unified forces should have, lived to the expectation of the names. It reached a point at some point, I was listening to speeches online, and I'm surprised. There are different factions that are brought together as a unified, force. And it will be unfair, or it will lose meaning if these warring parties are still, addressing their own factions within the unified forces. That will not work. So basically, I realized that yesterday, His Excellency, the first Vice President, was addressing, his forces within the unified forces, and that was not quite interesting because as far as the peace agreement is concerned, all the unified forces should be addressed as one. And as we know very well, the challenges we have currently during this crisis is the fact that the army is not isolated from the politics of the country, and you find that the army divides itself or have allegiance to different political, figures in the country, whereby if there's a crisis, they will always rally behind their political leader. Unlike other countries where politics is separated from army, In South Sudan, it's not the case. And the first step right now is to have this unified force that do not, have any connection or allegiance to any party or any specific leader. That could help us to understand that, okay, the army is separate from politics, and the army will serve the interests of the people and protect its people and its boundaries from the external forces. That should be the case, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So I will urge our leaders to treat these unified forces as such and let them live to the expectations of what the peace agreement says so far. So otherwise, thank you so much. I was just not happy with how Museveni, referred to South Sudanese as Arabs, and that really, broke my heart because we have been suffering so much in terms of, dealing with our neighboring countries or our neighboring communities and how they refer to us. And on such big occasions, we should have at least corrected there and then. It's not bad to correct somebody. It doesn't harm. It is a way of telling someone, okay, you have come to my house, but it seems like you lack knowledge about me. So let me give you who I am, or let me tell you who I am. That would have been the best way to do it. But unfortunately, our leaders do not care. These small things you see might lead to, ignorance of higher level. And it was some years ago that Museveni also referred to us as blue people. None of us really dig deep to know how we become blue. But unfortunately, black and blue do not, are not far from each other. So it was okay. But now going as far as referring to us as Arabs, it has crossed the line. And the same opinion I'm sharing today, many youth, South Sudanese, also shared the same. And the people who came out and said, no, this is not fair. How would Museveni refer to us as Arabs? And that is their right. South Sudan is an African nation and is a diverse country, and with religion being respected, and each and every religion is free, to operate in South Sudan. But that does not make us Muslims or even Arabs. We have Islamic religion, which is very strong in South Sudan, but majority of South Sudanese are Christian, and majority of us are African traditionalists. We believe in African tradition. So there is nowhere in history that South Sudan is referred to as Arab country. No. And during our independence, Museveni was invited. And in many occasions in this country, Museveni is always invited. And is always part of our activities in South Sudan as a neighboring country, as a close friend to the movement during the struggle, and as a close friend to His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit. He should have known better. So next time, I would urge our leaders to be very vigilant, and when some of these comments are made recklessly, they should be corrected there and then for us to be able to be clear with our identity, because there is no country without identity, and there is no country without, clear roadmap of who you are. Mayom Butrit Makir, good observation, my brother. I'm an informed citizen. You are. Thank you so much. And I've been traveling a lot, and at times I went to Bangkok, and at the airport I met somebody who wanted to know where I am from, and I told him I'm from South Sudan, and they could not believe it. They were like, no, there's no country called South Sudan. That was in 2017. But I said, no, South Sudan is a country. But they said, no, there's no country. So tell us your country. I have to sit down and explain to them. Sudan, we were part of Sudan, but now during the struggle, we became independent, and we are now South Sudan. And they were like, oh, the country that rebelled from Sudan. And I said, no, we didn't rebel. We're fighting for our rights. And I have to take my time to explain to them how South Sudan came to existence. So it is our responsibility as South Sudanese, as citizens of this country, to make sure if anyone is not well informed about South Sudan, make it a duty, make it a responsibility to inform them about South Sudan. Take it as a privilege that you are talking about your country and you are educating somebody about who you are. This is very important. History cannot be changed. And as we said earlier, it could be ignorance, of course, that could be one of the reasons, but it could be something beyond ignorance. We cannot know. And that's why it is good to protect our sovereignty. It's good to protect our image. It's good to protect our name. And it's good to protect what South Sudan is all about. This is very important. And each one of us is proud of this country in his or her own ways. So that should be taken into consideration. Thank you so much. I won't want to say much. I was just disappointed that Excellency Museveni was not, content or did not have clear information about South Sudan. And he's a good historian. Museveni has history. In fact, he referred to the history of Africa as a whole during his speech. even mentioning the slavery of Africans, and even mentioning Ethiopia as one of the countries that was not colonized during the colonization period. This is someone who is well informed, someone who knows history very well. But I don't know how come he didn't know that South Sudanese are not Arabs but Africans. So it beat my understanding with all that knowledge, and you are not able to know whether South Sudan is an Arab country or is an African country. It beat my understanding. Otherwise, next time Museveni has to be corrected. He has to be informed of how South Sudan came into existence. In case he has forgotten, and in case he is ignorant about it, then it has to be corrected. Thank you so much and have a wonderful time. And God bless all of you. To the Unified Forces, we wish you all the best. Graduation is one step, but now moving forward, we need to see a disciplined army, a unified army that do not look at, tribal lines or, affiliate themselves to a political, figure, but stand as the custodian of law and order in South Sudan. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.